way back in 1994, I think, when Nick and I met for the first time, and we'd been hanging out together a little bit, and we were in an Indian restaurant in Kilburn in North London, and either Nick or me, was it you or me that did it? I did it. I moved the salt across the table towards Nick and went, like this. And Nick went, I know what that is.
That was it.
And we had this kind of moment of
that
like...
That was the moment we fell in love, I think.
It was electric.
It was electric. Just like the world around us stopped for a sec. And all I could see was him.
And all I could see was him.
Let's have a look at a clip. Quite a lot, I think. And Edgar's a fan of, he likes to see people physically get injured. So a lot of the time, Edgar's direction is he'd get his little claws on you and he'd pull you in and he'd say, really go for it. and yeah, he wanted to see impact and stuff. So, I mean, I think we're similar in terms of
being hurt by Edgar.
Yeah, but emotionally hurt by Edgar.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, it's not in our nature to want to hurt people.
We don't want to hurt people.
Not physically. So it's really it's difficult when, because I really throw it at their faces.
And it was Nicola and Mark who played Mary and the Hulk, which are the two zombies and they're the sweetest people. And we didn't want to throw shit at them, did we? With any kind of force.
We didn't.
Pretty much the same shit, I'd say.
Yeah, I think the same.
I mean, you'd be dead because no, spoiler alert, obviously Ed ends up as a zombie.
I'd still be dead.
Yeah, you'd still be dead.
But you'd still feed me, right? I mean,
yeah, I'd probably walk around with you on a chain. Okay. Like take you for walks, take you out, find some unsuspecting human.
That's what we did last night in the hotel. You walked me around on a big chain like a Bond villain. And we both had Speedos on.
Do you guys have a favorite action moment that stands out from shooting?
I did. We did a thing where everyone knows that we don't have any kind of firearm in the UK. So when we got to use the guns and stuff, that was fun. That was kind of exciting.
Diving through the air.
And a bit naughty. But there was a scene where we were in the pub and we were shooting at the others, and my gun jammed, and it's pretty cool. What I did during the take was I simply unjammed it and then carried on.
Wow.
And just off camera, I could see the arms guys, and they looked to be furiously jerking off. Maybe not. But yeah, I felt that was like really cool that I knew what to do.
What was really funny about that scene was that we had to jump through the air firing two guns at once. And it looks so cool, but out of shot, we'd hit the crash mat, and all the spent shells that would come out would be ejected from the gun were boiling hot, and they'd roll down onto us in the crash mat. And so underneath that shot, Nick and I are going,
But they would stick to us. You'd have to just push them off quick.
Absolutely. Edgar and I never really want to do the same thing twice, and we always want to, risk disappointing people, really, in a way, just because rather than just do the same thing over and over again, which is why we never made sequels to each film. We wanted to do something different, and we'd all passed 40, and I was in recovery, and it felt like a story I wanted to tell about, just how driven addicts are, just how they will sacrifice everything to achieve what they want. And we'd also, in going back to Wells, I think, when we did Hot Fuzz, for Edgar, going back to his hometown and the feeling that everything was the same but different, and we just thought, push that to the logical kind of conclusion of it's different because everyone's an alien, And so, yeah, it felt, and also we didn't want to do like a straight genre take like we did with Shaun. It was a zombie film. Hot Fuzz was an action film. This was kind of more like a sort of John Wyndham novel, or, something that wasn't quite as so cinematically referential. And we made the film we wanted to make, you know, and I love that movie and I love that character, you know.
You know, something that often goes...
Thank you. It was amazing, because at that time, before it came out, it felt like Star Wars, you know, the set, there were so many practical makeup jobs and droids and stormtroopers, and I remember when I first walked into a tent and I met Chewbacca, and it was Jonas. Peter Mayhew was still alive at the time, and he'd do all his stuff sitting down, but Jonas played Chewbacca standing up, and he was in the tent. And and Chewbacca was always my favorite character, and I walked into this tent, and there was Chewbacca. And when the actor's in the suit, it isn't an actor in a suit, it's a living, breathing Wookiee. And I kind of walked in there, and my whole childhood just flooded back to me, and Jonas went, "Oh, hey man, how you going?" And I went, "Shut the fuck up! Just do the role." We could do sort of like...
Fucking really weird. First of all, well, maybe just like one of the big ships would be shaped like a cornetto. Which I guess it kind of is, but flat, right?
Maybe like a really straight-laced Imperial officer, you know, was made to go and work on Tatooine, and he meets this young, impressionable cadet, and together they learn the value of, you know, and he becomes a rebel. It's basically Hot Fuzz on
Yeah, it's Hot Fuzz. I'd like to think maybe they put Danny Butterman into like an R2 unit. I think it'd be a good belligerent R2 unit.
Oh, wow. For me, it's probably episode 5, season 2, when we go into Camden, and the one that culminates in all the slow-motion gunfighting. Just because that was a really fun episode to write. Jess and I had written an episode which we gave to Edgar, and he didn't like it, and he said, "You need to go back and write another one, better." And we wrote that one, and it was a lot of fun to shoot. But any episode where I got to mess around with Nick as well.
My favourite probably is the clubbing episode, because that was our life at that point. And so I think both of us agree it was quite few and far between the amount of TV we saw with actual good raving scenes in. They always seemed kind of shit. And
what did you say?
Raving scenes.
Oh, raving, sorry.
And then like instead of raving music, it's always like 9 Inch Nails or something. It's like, no, that's not what a club is like. So it was nice to portray what we thought, what we lived at that point.
And also, any program which showed like club culture had to have some punitive message about the dangers of taking ecstasy or whatever. And we kind of just wanted to show that you could go out, get mashed, and come back and survive, you know, and have a good night. And don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah.
We always discussed the idea of the sequel to Paul would always be called Paul's. And we had a kind of
we were going to go to his planet, right?
Yeah, I think, or a bunch of them were going to come to ours and try and, I can't remember. We shouldn't say because in case we do it.
Yes. I think
Crash the wedding, how about?
Yeah.
I think there was a weird thing too where at some point like 10 years ago, Universal contacted us to say, do you want to make it into a TV show? And so obviously that never happened. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I love Paul, right?
The fact is, I mean, the way the film industry is these days is that comedies like that don't really exist anymore. You don't get comedies that are made for that much money. Paul wasn't that much money. The most money we spent was on Paul himself, which cost about $20 million just to create that character. But like the mid-budget comedy doesn't exist anymore, and it's got something to do with theater audiences dwindling and streaming and God, I've got everyone really depressed.
God, sorry guys.
Thank you.
Sorry everyone. You can do this one.
I don't know. I mean, you know, honestly, the idea of joining another franchise at this point in my career, it's worrying, to say the least. I mean, I don't have any plans to. I don't want to join something whereby I'm contracted to be in lots of them and then maybe be in someone else's film as a bit part like you do in these expanded universes where, I mean, it's so much waiting around. And I love Mission Impossible. I've had the best time, the best 20 years, you know. But the idea of now doing something which is kind of a bit more, I don't know, smaller and it's hard. But if I was to sort of like to answer your question in a world where I was going to join a franchise, it would probably be James. No, I'm in a spy movie already. I can't join James Bond. I would like to do a live action Ice Age and have a big buck for real.
Awesome.
My brain shut down a little bit. So I'm just going to say Gobber from How to Train Your Dragon. Because now we've got a second film commissioned. I now know that I am in a franchise now. Not.
Tom Baker.
Yeah, I guess I have two. Yes, Tom Baker when I was a child, but of the newer ones, I love Capaldi.
Agreed.
I love Capaldi. And I really love Matt Smith, too. I think he's an amazing actor, and he's a great doctor. Didn't you hear my story about unjamming a gun? It was a Beretta.
I can drive a twin-engine speedboat now, which was fun, which I got to do on the River Seine, which was pretty damn cool. And a water taxi in Venice. So if things dry up for me, I'll see you in Venice. I'll take you somewhere. I think for me, it was probably the car chase in Rogue Nation where Ethan and Benji are bombing around Casablanca in that BMW, and we go down the steps, and then he sort of somersaults it backwards. That was so much fun, because it was literally just me and Tom in the car, and I remember saying to the stunt coordinator, Wade Eastwood, who's driving? And he went, oh, Tom. He's the best driver I have. And we'd be bombing around, and Tom would be kept shouting at me to scream more. But I was so scared that I was just like, do more stuff. And I'm trying. And then we had this whole thing where Tom used to put on my seat heater, and I wouldn't know, and I'd suddenly get really hot, and I'd be like, what the fuck's going on? And then this became this little war between us, so that was really fun. But I've been there at most of the big stunts just to watch, and they're always quite, awe-inspiring. The motorcycle jump off the cliff in Dead Reckoning was terrifying to watch, because he'd just disappear, and there'd be complete silence, and then you'd hear, good canopy. And everyone will go, oh, thank fuck. So yeah, but in terms of my participation, definitely the Beamer chase, yeah. Oh, I don't know, that would be fun. I'd like us to do another movie, I would be happy to come back with those guys and do another movie. Whatever the story is, Yeah. I love my Enterprise crew mates, they're the sweetest people. I was so proud of Zoe winning that Oscar recently, and it's going to it'll be a hard one for us, because we lost Anton, who was a very beloved member of our group. But whatever that story is, I'll be there for it, And as I have no news to give you in that regard, just that it's not impossible. So fingers crossed. Shoot.
Oh, no, I'm stumped. Let me have a think.
I think taking a risk probably would have been Shaun. Shaun was our first big movie. Well, it was our first movie as me and Edgar had written, and the three of us did together. And, it was, I think, a $6 million budget, which when I was a kid was the cost of a bionic man. And so it felt like a lot of money. And it was a risk that paid off, That's why we're sitting here now. So in terms of ones we took that didn't pay off,
I don't know. I did a tiny film a couple of years ago with a lovely Dutch director called Stefan, who also directed a film I did called Getaway. But I did his film, and it was called Crazy House, and it was you're the one. It was like. It was nuts. It was like, even reading the script, I'm like, what the fuck's going on? But I was kind of committed to do it. I said I'd do it. And I did it. And when we premiered it at Sundance, I think it was the only film that ended with no audience. Like everyone walked out. It was really weird. And that was like, you think, oh, but the upside to this is, I was fucking great in it. And my son, I have lots of children, but my oldest one teases me about it. And I have to say, but I'm really proud of it. I think it's great. So I think artistically, you have to do that thing sometimes. You're like, well, let's give it a crack. You know, they're not all going to be Shaun of the Deads, but if you can walk off that set and feel proud of what you've done, then maybe that is enough, you know, even if a lot of people walked out of it. I think a lot of people walked out of Exorcist when it first came.
I agree, and I think if you're where you want to be at any one time, then every risk you've taken, whether it's paid off or not, has been the right risk.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
I think sometimes a lot of these things that we do, the point of it is the relationships we forge on set between the crew and the cast, and the laugh you have doing it, and the pressure and the struggle, and you made a film. It's like magic. It's someone's thoughts, and then you've turned them into something real and tangible, you know. That sometimes is enough. Whether or not people watch it, that's not my business, you know. It's not my problem, really. It shouldn't be.
Having said that, go and see Mission Impossible and How to Train Your Dragon.
Thank you for watching this video. I am Invader Zim, and I traffic in doom. And so, if you do not subscribe to this channel, you will have doom that befalls you by me, Invader Zim.